What would you be doing if the money never came? Is the question. Would you still pursue the things that you're doing without the lootage? That is the deepest question you can ask right now in this day and time. Because you climb a corporate ladder and then you get to be 50 years old and you look and you say, damn, I climbed the wrong ladder. Now I have to get down and figure out what I want to do. Or is that just an overused analogy? And maybe you can just do the adjacent possible from there. Because some people just don't do anything. Like there's inactivity, and that's another problem. So maybe whatever you're pursuing isn't a dead end. Even if it's perceived to be a dead end years later, maybe it isn't. Maybe it just happened for a reason. So there's always two ways to look at things. You can look at them like, oh, damn, I wasted my time. You know, there's countless stories of people going to law school to be a lawyer, and they realized they hated that position. And sometimes they pivot into a career to where whatever they learned in law school to be a lawyer helped them in a specific way in their new career. And some people didn't. So it's all up to the person at that point. So we, as human beings, I think we always get trapped in a number of different things that we choose to do, or things that we think are okay, or things that we might deem to be the right decision at the time. And we look back on that and we wish, damn, I wish I wouldn't have went this way. I wish I would have done something differently. But then you get trapped in that woulda, coulda, shoulda mentality where you're just grinding your wheels over and over again. So it's, it's one of those things where if you're not constantly looking for the possibilities, and you're not, it's almost like your reticular activation system has to be open to any avenues that could potentially be good opportunities, right? And I think about this because I know I've blocked many, or, looked past a lot of opportunities. But at the same time, maybe that opportunity wasn't right at that particular time. You can't sit there and just blame yourself for everything and be so hard on yourself for every wrong decision or every regret. Even though the regret is there for a good reason, it's there to teach you. So if you do feel like, damn, man, I missed the boat on something, or I should have done this, that, and the third, and I didn't, and you feel down on it about yourself with it, that is okay too, because you got to get smacked a little bit to remember. If you went through life without any regrets or any pain from past decisions, you would just keep on repeating them, because why learn? It doesn't bother you. So I'm just figuring out with the question of, would you still be doing what you're doing if the money never came? What if the money never came? That's how you know you're living your purpose, because you're doing something where you're in the flow state. That's where your highest spiritual experience is going to be. It's not going to be where you're dreading waking up in the morning, hitting snooze on the alarm clock because you just don't want to be there. That's not a life to live. It's as if you're dead already, waking up doing the same Groundhog Day over and over again, listening to the same song, the same speech every morning. Maybe that's not what you want to do. And some people do want to do that. And that's great for them. I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. But a lot of people, like me, are novelty seekers, which is a gift and a curse. Oftentimes when we do things for the money, just for the money, We rationalize the reason why we're doing it. You might say, oh, I have to, put my kids through college. I have to become somebody in the world because my parents didn't. I have to show the person that doubted me that I could become a success. And all these are very surface level ways to get trapped into something that you don't want to do. And you can make $1 million a year, but if you hate your job, you just can't stand your existence. Is the $1 million even worth it? And so would you be doing that if the money wasn't there? Of course not. Of course you're not. But you will, if you choose to do that, you will have to rationalize it and come up with some false beliefs as to why you are going to continue to do that job, which is basically prostituting yourself for the employer. And you kind of like put your head down and just take it, for lack of a better way to say it. That's basically what's happening. But during this whole process, you say, I got to do what I got to do, by any means necessary. And I think that belief system is, when you look back on your life and you see, like a lot of times when you look at the older people in the nursing home, they never regret the things they did. They always regret the things they didn't do. So a lot of them regret not quitting the job and starting the business that they were thinking about, or traveling the world, or et cetera, et cetera. They always wonder, I wonder what would have happened if I just went on my own and did it my way. In general, I think that us human beings are very susceptible to false beliefs because they are some sort of coping mechanism to get us through the day in a lot of areas. They help us fit in with the crowd. They help give us a reason to keep doing certain things that may not be best for us. And on the flip side of that, it's like maybe the false belief served its purpose in that moment in time. Like I had a false belief before in a certain profession that I worked, to where I felt like I had to be super competitive and I had to work as hard as I possibly could to attain things, to prove to myself that the people that doubted me were wrong and I was right. And it wasn't so much to prove to them. During the process, it was me thinking that I wanted to prove it to them. But once I achieved it, I said, wait a minute, I don't even want to prove it to them. So maybe this whole time I was just trying to prove it to myself. And, I took the false belief of hustle hard, overwork yourself. And after a few years of that, what I noticed was burnout came. No matter how much I resisted the burnout, I started not making healthy decisions with my diet, which caused me to burn out even faster. Because during this time, I maintained a very healthy diet, and I never really went off that diet until things started to compound and more responsibilities started being weighed in on me. And I started to drink again, alcohol. And alcohol is something that I had quit for many years, more than a decade. So for me to be having drinks again on a Friday and Saturday was like, wait a minute, no. So I noticed that I was developing or allowing more bad habits to stack on to my hustle mentality at the time. And I took a hiatus. I said, all right, we're done. This was immediately before the pandemic happened. And I took almost a year off, I think, from working. And I had a little bit of savings. So see, what happens over the years is your identity shifts and it changes. And it's not supposed to stay the same. If your identity constantly stays the same, you're not growing as a human being. So I got out of the identity of, oh, I need to hustle my face off every day, listening to Gary Vee podcasts and videos, Grant Cardone videos, and that's cool for them, but I'm not them. So this is where, when you reflect and you ponder on things and you come to some realizations and you realize, no, maybe this isn't what it is. There's got to be a different way for me. And I have to find that. It is my job to find what it is that I have to do and how to do it. And so that may be the same thing for you. You may be in that same situation right now. Part of the reason why I record these videos is because I know there's people out there in this world that are going through something that I went through a few years ago. And currently, my identity, fast forward to today, you can say my identity is partially being a content creator, an author, and somebody who drives DoorDash and Uber Eats. So am I a content creator that drives DoorDash and Uber Eats, or am I a Uber Eats and DoorDash driver who wants to create content to escape the grind of Uber Eats and DoorDash and the low pay and just the economy itself? It's not just Uber Eats and DoorDash. It's really every job. Like most jobs, it seems like 95 to 98% of jobs don't pay enough. So, I could sit here and complain about DoorDash and Uber Eats, but I go on Indeed and I start looking for jobs and I'm like, okay, well, what am I taking home after taxes with this? And I'm like, damn, I might as well keep doing Uber Eats and DoorDash, because what is this going to give me? I can't pay rent, groceries, car payment, insurance, registration, etc., phone bill on that. And so I ask myself the question in the beginning of the video, would I still be doing this if the money never came? And the money never came for content creation. I wrote a book and I made a few dollars off the book, but nothing to live off of. I do a lot of different things and I experiment with a lot of different things. But the experimentation process is something that I've been doing for pretty much all my life. I experimented with many different professions, many different things that tickled my fancy, so to speak. I was into music. I was into dancing. I was into graffiti art. I was into gardening, construction, roofing, carpentry. There's just so many things that I've learned to do over the years, and I'm a dilettante, a generalist. Maybe that's the novelty seeker in me, always wanting to learn something new. Certain personalities are good at learning lots of different things, and they never really specialize on one thing. And so those type of people, I think they really need to find something that nourishes that kind of expansiveness of the eclectic interests, so to speak. And, part of the reason why I like to read and learn new things is because there's always something to learn, right? And that's why I like to create videos, because I like to share things that I learn, whether it be in life in general or things that I learn through reading. And that's just part of my identity right now in this moment. Now, I said to myself, I would like to keep creating videos for 10 years straight, just to look back on and see over the years. But also, I may decide maybe 5 years from now, you know what, I'm not focused on this anymore. I want to focus on something else. And that's perfectly fine too. My identity may change. And some could look at it and say, well, you gave up. You made a decision to do these videos for 10 years straight to see what happens, and then you gave up. I think sometimes we're too steadfast on the wrong thing. And we underestimate our ability to make the right pivots in the right time based on the information that we have in the current time. And we have to trust ourselves more. It feels like an ambiguous video because there's so much dichotomy in it. You can look at it so many different ways. And that's kind of what I want to inspire people to do, is to look at things from multiple perspectives, not just to be so steadfast on one ideology, one belief system, and be more flexible to change your mind and have that mental fluidity. And so the question still remains, am I a delivery driver that's trying to do content creation to escape the grind of doing deliveries? Or am I a content creator that just happens to do deliveries to pay the rent and get the bills paid so that I can do content? And it's a funny question because the answer is obvious to me. In order to make the reality happen, because it's not just that I am a content creator or a creative person in general that is working a 9 to 5 or whatever to pay the bills. It is not only that. It also is me being a delivery driver and wanting to do content to escape. So to be real, the answer is both. But my identity may lean towards one or the other depending on what state of mind I'm in. And this may happen for a lot of people that are similar to my personality. But I am a seeker. I am a truth seeker. I'm a knowledge seeker. And so I read a lot of books on how to make this happen. And one of the books that I came across that really sparked the idea of me getting a book done and publishing it on Amazon was a book called Key Person of Influence by Daniel Priestley. It's a book that I read, I think, last year or a couple years ago. And he talks about you got to have something like that, like something like a book, something that is about you. The book is the new business card. And so that's why I got that done. And I put a lot of work into it. And I was proud to do it and finally get it done because I wanted to write a book for many years. And, it's just about sitting down and doing the work that's not fun. Because to me, writing the book wasn't bad. The writing process itself wasn't bad. Getting the book on Amazon was the part that was excruciating for me. I wish I could have paid somebody to do all of that work, like designing the cover, and getting it on there, formatting it, and all that stuff. Sitting at a computer at a laptop and figuring this stuff out was no fun. I just got to say that. That is not something that I was born to do, basically. But I'm disciplined, okay? When I want to get something done, I do it. And that's all it really takes if you have a thought in your mind that you want to do something, you use your discipline to do it because you want to do it so bad, right? If you want it bad enough, you will figure out a way to do it. And I'm not good at that type of thing. I was never a technical kind of guy. I still kind of am not, even though, I feel like a tech genius when I fix things on my grandmother's iPad. It's basic things, but I'm still far from some computer whiz, and I never was, so. But it's all about getting better and better at things that you're not good at while spending most of the time strengthening the things that you were born to do. Things that are your true essence, your true talents, whatever gives you that flow state when you're working on it, where time is going by so fast and you don't even notice the time going by that fast because you are in the flow state. That is the work you're supposed to be doing. So in writing this book, there were times where, like, for instance, figuring out all the administrative things to get this thing going, where I'm like feeling like I'm just doing this to make money, to sell the book, to be a content creator. But there were times while I was writing the book, because a lot of this book came from questions that I had to find the answers to. And I, over the years, have saved a lot of things. Like the framework that I was creating came from endless research over the years that I compiled and put together. And it was all sloppy and disorganized, because that's the way I am. I'm a creative. I'm an artist. I'm not organized. So a lot of these exercises that I had in the book were all over the place. They were just jumbled up. It was an endless mess. And I had to go and organize all that, put it together, make it presentable. And that was probably about 15 to 20% of the book right there. So the rest of the book, I had to format, and I had to basically come up with the chapters that I wanted to write, and then just do one chapter at a time. You know, when you look at, damn, I got to write a whole book. No, you shouldn't look at it like that. Just look at it like I'm writing little pieces of this first chapter, and then I'm writing the pieces to the second, and so on and so forth. So that process of me writing was actually really fun, and I was in the flow state doing it. I mean, today you don't have to sit at a typewriter to write a book. You can just walk around and talk on your phone. Most of the book was me walking around town, talking into my phone on my voice memo app. It automatically transcribes everything. And then boom, I have everything there. It just needs to be edited. So it's such a simple process to write a book. And that's where I knew I was doing what I truly would do, even if I wasn't getting paid. Like, writing that book was an experience that I am so glad and I'm so thankful that I decided to do, and I did it. And I was disciplined with dedicating a certain amount of time every day. I think it was like an hour and a half every single day for about 30 days straight. I'm going to use an hour and a half to write this every day. And, you know, I edited a lot of things out for brevity and to not be long-winded. I wanted to make it concise. I wanted to make it readable, not long and drawn out. Because sometimes when I'm talking, just like when I'm doing these videos, I could just rant and go on tangents, and it distracts from the point or the topic that I'm getting to. But the book is more concise and straight to the point than some of these videos that I do on YouTube. So all in all, I mean, there were moments where I had to be disciplined and use more willpower to do the things that I normally wouldn't like doing, or things that I wouldn't quote unquote consider me or my personality, like all the computer stuff, sitting down and formatting and graphic design. I don't enjoy graphic design. I think it's cool, whatever, but it's not. There's some people out there that love to do graphic design. They really get a high from it. They're in their flow state and they can do it for hours every day. Me, I can care less about making cool pictures and text and all of these graphics and all that stuff. It's not something that I get a kick out of. But it had to get done, because I'm not going to have an ugly looking book cover. I want it to look good. So that's just my experience with the question of, would I still be doing it if the money never came? And I will end on this. If you're thinking, oh, I wouldn't want to do this if the money never came, I would urge you not to think of it like that. Because sometimes we don't do anything and we regret not doing anything. And then sometimes when we force ourselves to do something that we're somewhat interested in, then we find that we're becoming more interested in it. And there's other things that can open up in regards to what it is that we're pursuing in that time. So if you're thinking in terms of, I'm doing this just to get the money, you're kind of blocking your blessing, so to speak. Don't just do it for that. Always have something greater than the money, because the money is nothing but a control currency. It's there to control people. It's a means of exchange, and it's nothing but a currency for the economy. So if you're doing it for pieces of paper, it is meaningless. And you're not really living life. So if you can find enjoyment in doing things that are difficult, just difficult enough, not things that you hate, but things that are difficult and somewhat interesting, and you can latch onto that and find meaning in it, I think you're doing the right thing. Keep going. And keep searching for opportunities and avenues, other avenues that may open up from what it is that you're doing right now. But for God's sake, do something.